The Underdark, the vast network of underground caverns and tunnels that span under the world above, hold a wide array of creepy and unusual monsters who thrive on the ever-present darkness and fungal-ridden pathways of the Underdark. If you're only somewhat familiar with the word Underdark, this region of most material planes, what were some of the first creatures that came to mind when I said that word? Probably, if you're someone like me, it was the Dark Elves, otherwise known as drow, the Duergar, or Dark Dwarves. And maybe if you're a bit more initiated, you thought of the Deep Gnomes, also known as the Smurfneblin for some reason. Most of us probably also thought of the Far Realm Invaders, the Mind Flayers, those that actually eat your brains, also known as Illithid. And maybe if you watch Critical Role, you think all the way back to Season 1, the very beginning, and you thought of the all-seeing eye, or eyes, of the Beholder Kavard. Look, you may have heard of Mordenkainen's Tome, Tasha's Cauldron, Fizban's Treasury, Volo's Guide. This is Goja's Codex of Unusual Things, where I take you through all of my favorite creatures, abilities, items, and more to spice up your campaign, or just pique your interest. Today, we are talking about the top 3 most unusual monsters that you can find in the Underdark, and some of these are my personal favorite to throw at the party, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Also, I will say I might have a bonus fourth at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. Now, the first unusual monster that we're going to be bringing up today is Wild. It's found in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, this potent spider-like construct that was originally used to hunt down and capture demons in the abyss. This was created by the drow and is called the Retriever. Appropriately named based on its traditional uses, this is a construct that technically houses an imprisoned spirit of a Bebelith. Now, what's wild about this official 5e monster is that a Bebelith has not even been converted to 5e, at least not yet, and its only iterations were 4e, 3e, and 2nd edition. These Bebelith were arachnid-type demons that hunted other demons, so it's an appropriate thing to imprison inside of one of these constructs. The drow, if you really think about it, basically just gave Bebelith Spartan armor, including a heads-up display, might I add. You think I'm joking? Listen to this ability. Retrievers have an ability called Faultless Tracker, where its owner can give it a target, object, or creature, whether specific or general, and as long as its quarry is on the same plane of existence, the Retriever knows the exact direction and distance to its quarry. So it can get to you, that's no problem. What happens next? Well, what's fun about these constructs is that despite their seemingly small size in the graphic, these are actually considered large creatures. This means they're the same size as a warhorse. That's a metal spider the same size as a Budweiser horse from the Super Bowl commercials. I mean, come on. It has an absurd 19 AC, 210 average health, and a 40-foot walk and climb speed. It also is just casually immune to certain damages like necrotic, poison, psychic, and all bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical weapons that aren't adamantine. It's gross, but we're not even there yet with how cool this thing is. Their attacks are impressive with a kick attack, if you can call it that, and a force beam, but their refreshable ability is a paralyzing beam, where they can target one creature who has to succeed on a constitution saving throw or be paralyzed for 1 minute. They can repeat these saving throws every turn. If this creature is a medium-sized creature or smaller, the Retriever can just straight up pick it up with its normal movement and carry on like nothing ever happened. It can move at full speed while carrying the creature. It also has the ability to innately cast a version of plane shift, targeting itself and one other incapacitated creature. There is no save if the creature is incapacitated. It actually states in the stat block it's basically willing, which is not actually how the spell works. It's just how it works for this creature. So when it comes to crazy Underdark monsters, the Retriever is a fun one to add to any campaign. But with how strong it is, it can really be a problem and stress a party out. This isn't amazing from the killing side of things, more so from the ability to tank and then essentially steal a party member. This could be a crazy fun way to kidnap a player character who maybe can't show up for a number of sessions in a row, a cool little story arc, or maybe it steals the party's favorite NPC and that's a story arc. I mean, there's infinite possibilities with this being. So when it comes to downscaling this monster for a lower level party, I would drop the AC by at least 1 or 2. I would drop the health anywhere to around 150 to 120 total HP. The damage of its attacks really don't worry me all that much, especially with it not having legendary actions. However, I'd probably drop the saving throws of its force beam to around 14 and the paralyzing beam to somewhere around 15 or 16 to make it as fair as possible. All in all, an incredible creature to add, some very fun abilities, and tough to beat. Our second unusual creature is one of my new favorites, actually, and it's found in Fizbane's Treasury of Dragons. This creature is created when a gem dragon kills an aberration from the far realm. The alien corpse is then reshaped into this cunning predator capable of traversing the Underdark, hunting aberrations, and guarding its creator's lair. This is the Gem Stalker. Now, the Gem Stalker is a 4-legged body resembling that of a wingless dragon, but with a vaguely human-like torso with head and arm in the place of the dragon's head. Its body is studded with pulsing bright crystals and eyes are white with no mouth. It's basically a centaur, except it doesn't know anything about astronomy and it has a dragon body instead of a horse. Like I mentioned, they're created from killing far realm aberrations, so aka mind flayers. We talked about those in the beginning. Gem dragons are probably a topic for another video, but these gem dragons oftentimes live underground and potentially even breaching the Underdark when they happen upon mind flayers or vice versa. Killing them creates these awesome creatures, essentially. Now for scale, remember the Budweiser horse? Yeah, the same thing applies here with the Gem Stalkers. They're huge. They also have a sizable AC of 17 and a hit point average of only around 67, which is pretty ideal for a mid-level party and actually allows for multiple of these creatures to roam together and not entirely overwhelm an unsuspecting party. At least so I thought until I read further. They have a 40-foot move speed and a climb speed with the ability to climb upside down. They have spider climb at will completely. It has a decent melee attack, but this is where it gets kind of dicey. It can strike 4 times with its melee attack per turn, and then it also has this incredibly interesting bonus action. The bonus action is based around the type of dragon that created this stalker. It's technically a 5th attack in that same turn that is a ranged attack with a crystal dart. If the gem dragon was created by an amethyst dragon, it can teleport 30 feet after hitting a creature. Crystal dragon, the gem stalker gains a number of temporary hit points equal to the damage dealt. Emerald dragon, the target must roll a d4 and subtract that number from the next attack roll. Sapphire, the target must succeed on a strength saving throw or be pushed 10 feet away and be knocked prone. Or Topaz, target must succeed on a con saving throw or be poisoned. I love the utility of the gem dragons, and they can be highly customizable in the way they actually appear too, and you can make them look more like the dragons that created them, or less centaur-y, more dragon, maybe more human, less centaur. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could do it, and they're actually a good way to convey information to the party, like, oh, you're close to a lair because you're running into these gem stalkers. These are fun actually to run in a pack as well, because they have the ability to use their reaction to use something called protective link, where they can reduce the amount of damage any ally takes by 3d6 and then absorb that damage. So you can really disperse the damage around between a number of gem stalkers and make it harder to kill and keep up that action economy. In terms of downscaling or upscaling these creatures, I think the best course of action is looking at its health and its actions. 5 attacks on any player character or any party can be formidable, even when the average damage is only around 10 per attack. If you want the party to come in contact with some of these creatures at an earlier level to stave them off from going near a gem dragon, you can certainly do that, and I think the best thing to do is actually drop the amount of hits this creature can take to maybe 2 or 3 melee attacks with that bonus action range attack as its 3rd or 4th. At higher levels, I would certainly have a couple of these be an encounter together. I would probably increase their health to somewhere around 100, and then this is where you could have a lot of fun with it. You could actually make their ranged attack be a random generated effect, meaning instead of having it be based on the type of gem dragon it was created by, you could roll a d6, and 1 through 5 goes to the corresponding gems that we talked about earlier and their corresponding effects. Every single time you roll it, and it could give you a different thing that happens, whether it's heal it, whether it's move you back, or whether it's poison you. If you were to roll a d6 and roll a 6, I would say you would roll it again twice and take both of those results, and both would happen as a bit more randomness and fun encounter. If the party were to deem these as neutral beings, which on paper they technically are, and not instantly evil, which most parties, let's be honest, are going to hack and slash these things down, the gem stalkers do actually have telepathy and communicate with any creature, and would probably be able to be reasoned with given the right party's demeanor. Our third unusual creature is a fun variety creature due to the fact that it can actually be treated as more of a type of creature. You'll see what I mean in just a moment. Found in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, this chitin-covered reptile hunts in packs and nests in the sprawling subterranean warrens of the Underdark. They are attracted to sources of heat, carve out layers around those sources of heat, such as lava, Duergar forges, etc., and they impale their prey with unbelievably sharp limbs. These are the Kruthik. Now, the question I know we're all sharing, is this the same creature that tries to impale Obi-Wan in the Battle of Geonosis and the Attack of the Clones? Yeah, the answer is yes. It's the same creature. I don't know. I think they used it from D&D. I don't know. Kruthik have sharp senses and even sharper weapons. They communicate with one another through a series of hisses and chittering noises, and these sounds can actually be heard in advance of a Kruthik attack, which make for a fun way to creep the hell out of your party, especially with the large amount of them attacking. You really could mess some people up. Kruthik prefer live prey and kill enemies by impaling them, like we said, on their impossibly sharp limbs, and then they grind up their flesh and bones with mandibles strong enough to chew rock. They can be incredibly scary working as a group because they have the pack tactics ability, which gives them advantage on all attacks within 5 feet of another ally. They also have 40-foot move speed and climb speed, and they can tunnel at half their speed. When I mentioned those sharp senses before, it's also worth mentioning that they have tremor sense out to 60 feet, so they can find and locate creatures without even having to see them, and just based on their footsteps. So they actually make for a very fun encounter where they just burrow out of the ground and bust up in front of your face and then start chewing on your arms or impaling you in the face. So when I mentioned these are a type of creature, this is what I mean. Mordenkainen actually gave us a breakdown of small, medium, and large iterations of the Kruthik that all have different variations of abilities. These small, medium, and large iterations are corresponding to young, adult, and then the Kruthik Hive Lord. The young only have the stab attack, which is still a problem. The adults have a spike ranged attack as well, and then the Hive Lord has all of those abilities plus a refreshable acid spray. They have reinforced hide. When I say reinforced, I'm talking about high AC. Even the young ones, who only average around 9 HP, still have a 16 AC. The adults have 18 AC, and the Hive Lords have a 20 AC. I mean, we're getting close to dragons at this point. Kruthik are kind of like the non-traditional version of Underdark scary creatures that are perfect for a random encounter. But what's fun about them as well is that you could have your party stumble into a Kruthik hive, like a lair. You could actually go an extra mile and create your own lair actions for these creatures if you really wanted to. Something like a hive thrumming noise where all of the chittering and of the entire hive creates this deafening sound where if you fail your saving throw, you are deafened or maybe even stunned. And maybe on initiative count 20 with these lair actions, every time more of these young Kruthiks pop out that only have 9 HP but can get really annoying as they stab your ankles. If you want to implement these in any campaign, it would be an easy stretch to also have the Hive of Kruthik be controlled by some evil entity that you're working with in the Underdark. They might use them as scouting units in their attempt to expand their reach on the territory in the Underdark, or even some of the adults might be used as mounts for Duergar or Smurf Meblin. Mordenkainen, kind of like I said, did the power scaling for us, so I don't need to do that for you. It's all about the number that there are and whether or not you want them to be able to summon more. Now, I said there was going to be a bonus monster, and there will be. All you have to do is click that subscribe button down below. Click the like button on the video if you've enjoyed this thus far. I'm excited to make a lot more of these videos. All right, let's get into it. Now, I said we wouldn't talk about the usual suspects like the mind flayers, the drow, etc. But my bonus monster has got to be one of the coolest monsters in any book, and I couldn't really get away without talking about it. So I'm going to go back to the drow and talk about them for just a second, but a very specific type of drow. Sticking with the centaur theme earlier, why not give a creature a massive spider body and increased magical abilities? Yeah, because why not? This is the Drider. A Drider is a drow that has been put to test and fails said test that was put on by the Spider Queen Lolth, who instead of killing the drow, transforms it into this horrible abomination that is this creature. They have the usual drow body and the ability to wield weapons like longswords and bows, but they can also do spider things like climb up walls, make webs, and even have an increased ability to cast utility spells like Hold Person, Silence, Detect Magic, Freedom Movement, Fairy Fire. The list goes on a little bit. If you do decide to go the route of implementing drow into your Underdark world, make sure to include the involvement of Lolth. It's such an amazing religious-based concept for the drow, and it makes for some interesting storylines as well as, well, very interesting and unusual monsters like the Drider. Hey, that's all I've got for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you click that notification bell as well, so every time I post a video like this, you'll be the first one to see it. I appreciate all the support. I'm excited to make so many more of these videos. If there's a certain type, area, region of monster that you want me to cover, comment down below, and excited to get in some magical items later as well. That's all I've got. See you guys in the next one.